Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dude's Brunch, your late night morning talk show where four people talk about four things they found on the internet. With me this week to talk about breakfast food and pop culture, it's Tyler Reed. Tyler, what did you have for brunch today?
Hi everybody. I had a family gathering this day. So I said this week, but that's not how family gatherings work. I had a family gathering today, and so my girlfriend came over. Usually I either have brunch with her, or I don't, or I have a brunch by myself. But instead, we just played a board game, and I had a black iced coffee, so that was my brunch. And the next thing I ate was 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers, so
you're living the dream.
Yeah, basically.
Sean, Giggle Party Evans, you're over there trying to keep a straight face. What did you have for brunch today?
Well, this is because Tyler just did a good story, bro.
I know! Don't remind me!
So I went out on a limb today and went and got a couple breakfast burritos to try. So I had one that was sausage, egg, and cheese, and the other one was sausage, egg, cheese, and jalapeno. It was pretty good. They were good. I thoroughly enjoyed them. I ate them at work because I was really hungry. They didn't make it home, so whoops.
Well, sometimes you just have to eat a breakfast burrito in the back of a Banana Republic.
You were right.
Our guest this week, you may know him from the Incomparable Radio Theater and all sorts of other podcasts. It's David J. Loehr. Hi, David. What did you have for brunch today?
I had mimosas and powdered donuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
living
a super
fancy
fitting brunch.
I want a big boy life.
Sean dreams of the day when he can sit down and have a mimosa in the back of a Banana Republic.
I think Banana Republics would be much more fun if they always served mimosas.
It just makes sense, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mimosas and Panama hats and guys with fans. Exactly. And maybe some intrigue off in the corner with the really fat man. And that's a whole other thing.
Wait.
Actually,
what about
that's
bananas?
That's old style Banana Republic. This is like Safari Gap Banana Republic.
Yeah, this is like back in the day.
Yeah. It's all yuppies.
The yuppies have taken over. They may be coming for this podcast. Well, I'm your host, Taylor Olmstead, and this week for brunch, I was on the road on the way from Knoxville, Tennessee to Atlanta, Georgia, which is a surprisingly traffic-filled drive. I mean, the rural Tennessee highway system is just not a fun place to be, and so I took respite at a McDonald's in Loudon, Tennessee, where I had a sausage egg McMuffin and tried to not think about eating a sausage egg McMuffin.
And that's a surprising number of 2-lane roads, too. I mean, that's not... I've driven that a few times. Maybe some 4 lanes.
Maybe some 4 lanes in Knoxville and Chattanooga, but that's about all you get.
Yeah.
Wait, why didn't you get a McGriddle?
Because I like the simple things, Tyler.
Listen,
I don't like my pancakes and sandwiches to mix.
You cannot tell me that McGriddle actually tastes good.
It's
syrup
amazing.
Inside of something versus
very
syrup
good.
on something is a very different concept.
Yeah, there's something about biting into bread that is pre-syruped. I'm just not about it.
Listen, you try it once, then we can talk.
I have.
I have.
You have?
Yes.
All right.
I will say I am Team McGriddle without meat. I just get it with egg and cheese. That's the perfect blend of sweet and salty. And I usually have it in between 2 breakfast burritos. I mean, not like sandwiched. I mean, like,
okay,
eat a
I was about
burrito,
to be
then I
really
eat a McGriddle,
concerned.
then I eat a burrito. Although, no.
That sounds like some Taco Bell breakfast up in here, and I'm just not ready for that. I was not having that kind of morning. Well, as always here at Dude's Brunch, we're going to talk about 4 topics from the internet, and you can play along at home by playing Dude's Brunch Bingo. The board is at dudesbrunch.wordpress.com/bingo. First person to tweet in a completed board gets a handmade prize from one of us here on the podcast. So without any further ado, we're going to jump into our first topic this week. And I'm actually up first. I wanted to talk about the idea of fads. An article was showing up all over my Twitter feed this week from Gary Vaynerchuk. It was called, "Will Snapchat and Musical.ly be around in 6 months? Who cares?" And it got me thinking about this idea of fads, and particularly fads with youth culture. And you can date this all the way back to the Beatles in 1964 and American journalists saying they were a fad. And so I guess my question to the panel is, knowing that these things sometimes are fads and sometimes are global phenomena, do you think Snapchat and or Musical.ly are going to be around 6 months from now? And does that even really matter?
Probably.
Can you explain what Musical.ly is?
It's an app that lets you record lip sync videos and send them to your friends.
I mean, maybe not that.
Yeah, that one not so much.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I mean, you can trace this kind of reaction back even further than the Beatles. I mean, Frank Sinatra was the Bobby Soxer fad. The Charleston was a fad, bathtub gin, all these things that, and so it's like you can kind of look back and go, all right, this was criticized as a fad for the young people. Which things endured? I mean, Sinatra, yeah, but Sinatra evolved. The Beatles, yes, they evolved. Did Herman's Hermits really survive? Not so much. So, how well will things evolve? Will Snapchat get beyond what it is now? I don't know. It seems kind of limited to me, but it's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. Twitter has sort of evolved. Facebook is trying to evolve. Facebook is a cesspit. But anyway, hi, Facebook. I know you're spying on me.
They're not listening to this.
No, Zuckerberg is sitting there going, damn it!
They figured me out.
Had him!
What bottom 40s podcast can I listen to that talks shit about me?
Wait, it's the Radio Theater Boy again. Fucking. But yeah, it's sort of like, what things are going to endure? It's the things that evolve. And so, Friendster, MySpace, Orkut. I'm trying to think of all the other things that have sundowned.
MySpace again?
MySpace again.
The relaunch? I was there for that.
I was too.
MySpace.
Zombie MySpace. Yeah, I think...
Wait.
You bring up a really good point about evolving. I think YouTube is facing a very similar problem right now, where they're almost trying to over-evolve with this whole subscription music thing and getting away from actually paying people to make stuff on YouTube, and there's a lot of problems there. But I don't know. I mean, I think Snapchat has at least some amount of longevity to it. I worry about an app where all you do is lip sync, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there are only so many songs you can amusingly lip sync. Spend an hour at a karaoke bar and you'll figure them all out.
That's what I mean. How many albums does Creed have? And that's as long as my channel's going to last.
and I mean, it's sort of like, how many apps do I need? I could do that with pretty much any video app, right?
Yeah, that's
as long
true.
as I can play the music. Yeah, it's just sort of weird. I had never heard of that until tonight. So, and I pay attention to this stuff.
I was going to say, you have teenagers.
Yeah. Well, one so far.
Yeah.
Shut up.
More than enough. Too many.
I'm young. Shut up.
Why do you think we're so quick to dismiss things as fad, or do you think it's just journalists that are quick to call things fads? I'm curious because I think all of us here are at least hipster adjacent, if not somewhat hipsters, since, we're recording a podcast right now on our 4 Apple computers. Is it the hip thing to do to say that everything is over and it's all just a fad?
Yes, because we live in a hot take culture, Taylor. Buzzwords.
Well, it's easy clickbait, right? If you see an article that's titled, "What is the future of Snapchat and Musical.ly?" Are you going to click on that? Maybe, if you're following this stuff. But when you see, "Will they be around in 6 months?" You go, "Well, of course they won't be, or they will be." But it instantly gets your blood pressure going, and you have to see what the take is. Right. So I think a large part of it is the journalists. Everything's driven by clicks and ad rates, and can we get our auto playing video to play when you click there? And it counts. It doesn't matter if you actually read it or watch it. We can go to the advertiser and say, see, it played.
Yeah. Hear that, Emily? I know you're going to listen to this. We know what you're out there doing.
Emily is a frequent contributor here who's a journalist for Cleveland.com.
Well, now Cleveland, that's really good. That's good stuff.
Yeah, they got some quality news up there in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Cleveland rocks. Come on.
I'm not going to let you guys hate on Cleveland like that.
No, Akron. That, no, forget it. Cleveland? Yeah.
We should have mentioned that Sean's from Akron.
Wait,
I meant Dacron. Dacron. That's another. That's where they have like the fake polyester, and it's horrible.
Right.
Zac Efron. I hate that guy.
Oh God.
If you could just insult DC, we'll just complete everything.
Everywhere Sean's ever
I
lived.
could do that. No. I have family in DC. DC is like the most consistent. I've never actually lived there, but my uncle has lived there for like 42 years. So his house is like the most stable, continuous home, quote unquote, in my life. So, yay, DC.
Glad we
One out
found
of three
one
is not
city
bad.
David likes.
Also, they have Good Stuff Eatery. I'm
They
okay
do.
with that. Good Stuff Eatery, not a fad.
Not a fad.
That is.
See? Segue.
Yeah, I think
Not my first rodeo.
David's right, though. It is kind of a journalisty thing to call things fads. And I say that as a social media marketer whose whole career is based on whether or not things are fads. It's always kind of interesting for me as I have to keep an eye on what the press are saying about apps, which feels very weird because they're always going to say everything's a fad, and I'm more concerned with, are they going to make enough money to be around in 6 months?
Right.
Than whether or not they're a fad. And I think Snapchat and Musical.ly are really interesting examples of that, getting off on my industry rant, because they're still completely venture-backed and they haven't gone for IPO, and Snapchat keeps turning down acquisition offers from really big companies, and there's a lot of money that both apps are leaving on the table. And so it'll be interesting to see if financially they'll be around in 6 months.
I'm not convinced, this might be a side note here, but I'm not convinced that any social media that's gone IPO actually deserves to have gone public.
I won't disagree with that.
I don't know what they have that makes them worth going IPO.
I don't.
No.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Besides, physical assets of, we have a building.
Dank memes.
That's where all the money is, in the dank memes. What I want to know now is what fads from the past or recently deceased dank memes do you wish had stuck and had actually become a lasting part of the culture?
Oh, man, I could just run through lists of TV shows that I wish had lasted more than a year. God.
So,
Are you trying to tell me you're pouring out for Firefly? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Oh, hell yeah.
I was going to say, we gotta get the Firefly reference in there, or everybody's going to be mad.
As long as we can ignore Serenity. Because I love Book and I love Wash, so it's like, no.
Yeah.
Spoiler
I
horn.
feel your pain.
Wait, wrong podcast.
We don't believe in this.
We don't believe in the spoiler horn. If it's out there, you should have listened to it or read the show notes before you started the podcast.
That's right. And it's been, 15 years?
Yeah.
Well, not since the movie. But, well, anyway.
Right.
Okay, so let's go one by one through all the episodes and spoil them. No. But it's short enough that we could.
Yeah. I think similarly, I really wish Freaks and Geeks had stuck around.
Yeah.
And I think really just that style of TV, the semi-heartfelt teen comedy, we don't see a lot of that on TV anymore. And we had a lot of it in the early to mid 2000s, and I kind of wish it would make a comeback.
Yeah. Well, and there's that whole trend. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, looking at the TV schedule. Because now my older son fell in love with Parks and Recreation last summer, partly because it's a great show, partly because Nick Offerman, and partly because it's set in Indiana. We live in Indiana. And so there was part of him that was going, oh, this is my home. This is my place, right? Even though it's heightened, but there are certain things about it that just nail small town Indiana.
Is it the murals inside of Town Hall?
The murals inside of Town Hall, which they actually, they are all over the place, but specifically the kind of style of these murals, I could swear someone on the production staff had been to the Shawnee Summer Theater in Bloomfield, Indiana. That is a long story, but that is a building full of those really odd murals. It's not just that they're murals, they're really, really odd. But anyway, I started thinking about it, and it's like, well, what shows were on when I was little and what shows are on now? When I was little, you had shows set in Phoenix and Indianapolis and Detroit and Boston and, all over the country, and shows that were set in different kinds of things. You had, even into the 80s and early 90s, you had shows that were about normal people, right? You had 30-something and My So-Called Life and Freaks and Geeks and, all of these things. And now the network schedules, at least, are wall-to-wall Criminal Minds, CSI, NCIS. It's all crime-solving teams. It's all lurid. I mean, yeah, they're fine. They're well done. They're competently made. But how many of them do we need? I'd like to see something that isn't New York, L.A., Chicago. I'd like to see something that, we've got what? Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med. Soon we'll have Chicago Law and Chicago Dog Catcher and Chicago Meter Maid. And
Wait, I think you're onto something there. I think the further we go down this rabbit hole, I think we finally hit on the new idea.
Chicago Social Media Manager.
That's right.
There you go.
Huh?
No, I think you're right, David. It seems like the categories of network television right now seem to be public sector drama and solving crime.
Yeah.
And the three of us grew up in Cincinnati, and it was always kind of frustrating, at least for me, that everybody knows what your city is because of WKRP, and that's it.
I literally, every time, we're about 90, 100 miles away, depending which way you go. We have a south route and a north route. Whenever we do the south route, it's going up through Kentucky, up I-75, and you come over the rise, and then you see the skyline. Mm-hmm. This is coming up on 16, 17 years now. Every time I come over that rise, I still sing the song. I can't not sing the song.
And the problem is, there's not been anything else set there other than that one legal show that didn't do very well.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, I can't think of what it was called. It had Roseanne Barr in it, though.
No. Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates, yeah. Kathy Bates.
Harry's Law.
Harry's Law.
Oh, why do I know this?
I don't know.
This is taking up space in my brain.
But guys, Nick Lachey, he lives here.
We know.
Pete Rose. There you go.
But yeah, I think TV shows set in Midwestern cities. That would be a nice fad that I would like to see come back.
Yeah.
Isn't there kind of like that? Isn't there the middle and off the boat and I feel like there's a series of
well, it's
Wednesday night ABC
to
comedies.
push back. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Fresh Off the Boat is I think Orlando, Florida. So that's something. And the middle is basically you take Parks and Rec and the middle and that sort of sweet spot balanced between them, that is where I live.
Oh, okay.
Both of those shows take different aspects of Indiana, but man, they get it.
Well, as someone that's traveled around very little, it's only recently come to my attention that there's 3 major points. Well, I mean, I think there's only 3 or 4 major points in Ohio, and I realized there's actually a lot of corn there. We got a lot of corn in Ohio. And I'm like, fuck. Now I understand why no one thinks anything about Ohio. But you go to California, there's wall-to-wall sexy.
Yeah.
It's just nonstop.
That's what you think.
I know.
What was I thinking?
But that's what a simple Midwesterner thinks about California. I go out to that big, beautiful,
that could be a
sunny
50
place.
a 50 episode podcast. Midwesterners talk about states they don't know.
That's out there it's great because there's swimming pools and movie stars, and that's the Beverly Hillbillies. Right?
Texas tea. Wait.
I want to see Moon Boots come back.
Now, are you talking about the puffy moon boots or the
Both
plastic ones with the rubber bands?
together. Why not? Well, because I don't know if you guys played with these when you were a kid, but it was awesome to go over to your friend's house and get in their moon boots and have trampolines attached to your feet and jump around. It was kind of fun. I thought that'd be really, really cool.
And it's your friend's house, so if you jump around and break stuff, you don't get in trouble.
Right, you just gotta be faster than your friend.
I don't
Whatever
have
happened
to
to
outrun
aliases?
the bear.
I thought you said your name was Trevor. No, it's Blake.
Speaking of which, outrunning bears, that's a fad I'd like to see come back.
Man, that would have
Might
made
just-
The Revenant a lot less interesting.
Might just be me. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun Leo.
And that doesn't look like it would be too hard.
Now that he's weighted down by a 24-karat gold statue, I think you got a good chance.
It's all the vaping.
Wait, the bear or Leo? I forget.
Well, in between takes, the bear was too.
Is the bear also played by Bill Murray?
Man, see, now I would have seen that movie. I would have watched the hell out of that movie.
Clearly, I saw the wrong snowy, violent action movie because I saw The Hateful Eight, and no one's even talking about that movie. But apparently, I'm supposed to see The Revenant first.
Yeah, see, that had a bear in it. That was a hell of a movie. Should have hired me to be the bear. It'd be great. I saw Caddyshack at too young an age. It happens.
I saw Caddyshack at too old an age and almost didn't get it. Gotta hit the sweet spot.
And I saw Caddyshack just right.
What current fads do we
I'll
want to
let
see
Neil, too.
fade away?
Joggers.
As in people who jog?
No, as in the pants. Joggers. I hate them. People wear them all the time. I've sold them so many times, but I don't like them.
You're gonna have to help me out. I'm not as fashion conscious.
You haven't. Okay, so they're like pants, but they're not chinos. They're not like cotton pants or sweatpants, but they have like cuffed ankles, and they rise a little bit above your ankles, and they have drawstring waists.
They're kind of like baggy capri pants.
Yes.
Yeah, I already dislike this.
I'd love to see just stupid terms for clothing go away. Jorts.
Oh.
Jorts. Pajama jeans. What are you? No, not a thing. Not a thing. But jorts. Oh.
It's such a bad word.
They're just jean shorts.
Do you like jeggings?
So hard. Oh, God. Is it so hard to say like 4 more letters? I mean, come on, people.
I heard someone call burgers Burgs.
Oh, I was
that
that
okay?
that
It's
too.
a town.
Is that okay? How do we feel about Burgs?
I think
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's-
go ahead and say shortening words is a fad that I just want to die.
Hey, we'll get some of that Burg.
Nope.
I'd love a Burg.
Give me some of
Whatever.
that peas. Give me some of that peas.
What's the haps?
Exactly. I think I would also like the taking a clip from a TV show and overlaying text on it and re-uploading it as a video with a different context fad to go away.
Wait, I don't get it.
So you like take a reaction shot from SpongeBob and then you overlay a caption on it meme style that says like when Hillary said X and it's just Patrick making a stupid face or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make your own meme content.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm too busy looking up joggers. Sorry.
It's
Glad
like
you're
Glenn and
contributing.
raccoons. Oh, God.
It's already on the Slack, Taylor. Don't
I
you
saw
worry.
it on the Slack.
Oh, very good. So what do you think now that you've seen joggers?
I agree. They're an abomination.
So listen, I guess I understand joggers, why you don't like them, Sean, but why exactly don't you like them? I need...
I understand why you don't like them, but I want you to tell me why you don't like them.
Yeah,
Okay. The reason I don't like them is because I think they're really difficult. They make my job really hard. Because they're really hard to style. Like when somebody comes in, there's like a couple things you can do with them. Put a t-shirt with them and put a t-shirt with them. That's about it. And like, I just don't know what to say. And people don't know how to wear them. They're like, oh, I remember these from when I was a kid. And then it ends. So we just had like this huge like back inventory of all these joggers. and they're just like sitting there screaming at me from the shelves, like, I am your worst nightmare, whispering in my ear. It's just the worst thing. I just despise joggers for that reason.
See, this is your moment for civil disobedience. Just every time someone comes in, brings them up to you or asks you, what do you think of this? Every time, just go, really? Really?
I like how people that like know how to wear them, they look really good. Like, I admire people who can style them.
So here's my question for you, though. Do you fold them like pants, or do you fold them like a fitted sheet?
I had no answer to that question.
I was just curious.
I don't know how to fold fitted sheets, so...
Does anyone?
I've seen it done. I can't figure it out, though.
Listen, it's like finding the end to Ouroboros. It's fine. It's not like that.
I heard there's a pot of gold. There's like a pot of gold if you do it right, but I have yet to find it.
Our second topic tonight comes from David. David, what do you have for us?
Well, it's been on my mind for a while with superhero films in general, and especially this week, because at The Incomparable we talked about Batman the Animated Series, because everyone has been saying, hey, are you going to do a Batman versus Superman episode? I'm like, no. Because none of us liked Man of Steel, so we're pretty sure we weren't going to like Batman versus Superman, and guess what? So we talked about the good Batman. And one of the things that bothers me about some of the modern superhero films, but especially the DC ones, is the idea that we can't let our heroes just be heroic, right? Part of the whole, Zack Snyder has had how many different explanations as to why he made Man of Steel the way he made it. But basically it all boils down to Superman needed to learn to be good. And, it's okay for a hero to actually be inherently good, right? It's okay for him to know that murder is wrong because it is wrong, not because he does it and then goes, oh, that was wrong, right? And especially, and everyone says, oh, he ruined Superman. To me, he ruined Pa Kent. Or Jonathan Kent, I don't, whoever you want to call him, because it's the combination of his guidance, of Superman's guidance from his, from Jor-El and from Jonathan Kent. It's both of his fathers saying, this is what a good person does. This is what you strive towards. And the idea that, these are role models for children and for people. They're aspirational. It was originally created by these two Jewish comic book fans who were seeing what was happening in Germany, and they wanted someone more powerful than that to triumph. And these are aspirational heroes. So why do we have to bring them down to earth? Why do we have to ground them? Why can't they stay aspirational? And so it's and especially watching it in the context of, or thinking about it in the context of Batman the Animated Series, which does a really fine job of threading that needle and balancing both Batman and Bruce Wayne. It's probably the only time Bruce Wayne has been a decent, human, fully dimensional character in any media outside comics. So I want to see what you guys think. Am I crazy? Do we need to darken these heroes and muddy these heroes, or should DC lighten up, basically?
So we are a little bit younger than you.
What?
I know.
What? Shut up.
Imagine that. But I was an elementary school aged kid when Batman and Robin came out.
Okay.
And so that was really my first experience with Batman outside of comic books other than the animated series. And I distinctly remember my parents not letting me see it when it first hit the theaters because they thought it was going to be too violent. And as you were talking, I was just thinking, what would my parents have said if I was 9 or 10 years old when The Dark Knight came out?
Right.
Like, there's no way they would have let me see that movie. Particularly knowing what we knew right around the release of what happened to Heath Ledger and that whole thing, I think as parents they would have been scared out of their minds to take me to that movie. So yeah, I think having aspirational superheroes, it like not having them kind of robs children, because you only get a Batman movie every so many years, and if the only Batman movie when you're a kid isn't a Batman that's kid friendly, you just don't get a Batman.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's living with me. It's not, and it's not even something intentional that I've said, no, you can't watch this. My kids are not interested in the Christopher Nolan movies. They're not interested in the Zack Snyder movies. But instinctively, my younger son last year got hooked on The Flash, and this year got hooked on Supergirl. And, you know, the TV version of DC's universe is bright and fun, and the world's finest episode of Supergirl, my God, especially coming out the same weekend as Batman versus Superman. You know, I know they're not making a blatant statement, but that kind of says something, that you have this effervescent, beautiful team up between the two of them. The same weekend you have Batman and Superman beating each other up. You know, but both of the kids just sort of instinctively gravitated to these versions. It's not about Marvel versus DC. It's just, this is something I want to watch. That looks really, really depressing. You know?
Yeah. So when you're talking about this, it makes me think along two directions. There's one where it's like we force superheroes to go through this adolescent phase where they're leaving, like you were saying, where you can't rely on Superman's dad and his guardian to kind of like set his moral compass and know the difference between right and wrong. You know, where it's like the first time when you go out into the world and you're like, oh, you know, you missed paying that electric bill and you get a notice and you have to pay something. And that seems really unnatural, but at the same time, part of me kind of likes these movies. Like, I kind of like the Christopher Nolan movies, not because I like Christopher Nolan, but I like to see, but I don't know if Batman's character really didn't go through much in Christopher Nolan's movie. I felt like a lot of the character development in that movie was a lot more revolved a lot more around the villains. Yes. Particularly Heath Ledger's Joker. Maybe in the first one and the second one, there was a little bit more like moral development there, where particularly, you know, I don't know, it just wasn't much there. And I haven't seen the Superman movies, but I kind of wonder if having that kind of moral development for Superman might actually be interesting because of the fact that he was created, like, during the context of his creation, that he was created by two Jewish guys during, you know, to kind of be this hero during the Holocaust, because my experience is more academic, and how there was like a shift theoretically after the Holocaust. And I kind of wonder if having that for him kind of catches him up. Like, it kind of like, it pulls him back, but it catches him up to where he needs to be, where he faces this moral conundrum and he represents a time period that, you know, where everybody was looking, you know, like the birth of existentialism and stuff like that, where you kind of look at yourself and, you know, where inaction is still action. And you have to face these larger questions that we, you know, weren't thought about before. So I guess I'm going to have to go watch a new Superman, because now I'm kind of curious. Like,
well, it's like, you know, I would love to see. I mean, one of the things that Supergirl does nicely is it gives her these moral questions that she has to deal with. I think you can tell a really good story with Superman that way. I don't think Zack Snyder can, or David Goyer, or whomever is really pulling the strings here.
Wait, you mean 300 wasn't about deep moral questions and existentialism?
and body oil.
I completely misread that film.
But yeah, I mean, it's sort of, you know, I guess I was 7 when the Christopher Reeve Superman came out, and the whole thrust of it, I don't think that's a brilliant movie. It's fine. It's fun. But the tagline worked. It was, you will believe a man can fly. And the whole thrust of the Zack Snyder films seems to be, you will believe that a god can be brought down to earth. And it's like, that's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, though, when you say, like, because I kind of want superheroes to be sacred in a way and not have to, like, why can't they be okay? Why can't they not face challenges, Not every idea has to be this, like, perfect, well-rounded idea. Like, we can have
kind of a flat character,
right,
in the name of making them an example.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And speaking of fads that I want to go away, I get it. Bruce Wayne's parents got shot in an alley. Uncle Ben died. Let's stop with the origin stories. My God.
What if Uncle Ben lived?
See, that would be interesting. I'd be all about that.
Isn't there a version of Spider-Man where Uncle Ben
Probably.
lives?
I think didn't they do that in the Ultimate Spider-Man book?
I think so.
I think, yeah.
We're not the people to ask.
Don't look at me. My bookcase is almost all DC. For all that I like the Marvel movies, I was always a DC guy. So it's sort of it still kind of stuns me how much more I like the Marvel films.
I watched Batman the Animated Series because I was tired of watching Barney.
There you go.
You made an impressive segue there.
I was like, I want to be Batman and I want to be a Power Ranger. And I want to be the Green Ranger because he's got the dragon sword and the flute. But really, when I'm 25, I want to be the Black Ranger because he has an axe that's also a gun.
I just want to say, don't watch Zack Snyder's Barney. That's going to destroy your childhood. There's another fad. The whole "it destroyed my childhood." It's still there. That version is still there. Go watch the thing you like. It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I wasn't expecting this topic to open up such this existential wormhole that's well you see, in order to understand why the Dark Knight was made, we have to first understand the cultural implications of 9/11, and then it's there's the light.
But Tyler, I have to ask though, because you watched a lot more anime when you were young than we did.
That's right.
And there's a certain darkness to some of the more adult anime, but not all anime, that wasn't really present in American cartoons.
Uh-huh.
That's true.
And so I'm curious,
be about my topic later, but yes.
Yeah, so how does that play into how you watch these superhero movies? Because I don't think I've ever talked to you about these movies.
I mean, okay. For I guess just to make it as obvious as possible, I think I have to put it in the context of gaming consoles, because there's Xbox, PS4, and or just Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. I am purely Nintendo in this situation, where it's it doesn't have to look the best. It doesn't have to be this higher piece. It has to be fun. It has to be engaging. It has to be interactive. Maybe it has to be doing something different. It has to be feel fresh, new. Even if it's basically rehashing the same thing over and over again, as long as they're bringing something new to the table, I'm in. I'll admit that I wanted the Dark Knight at some point. It's nice to see that. But
yeah.
But it seems after a while, you're okay, well, there's 3 movies. I do not want to see another dark Batman movie ever again, for at least another 10 years, I'm kind of ready for goofy superhero movies. I want the X-Men to be in their, yellow leotards at this point. I don't want them to be, gritty realism anymore. I want a guy that throws flaming cards again. That's what I want.
Well, I mean, it's as much as I love Batman the Animated Series, and I do, it's maybe, I think it's the ultimate version of Batman in any media, any visual medium, and no, anything that's not a book. But my next favorite is Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is aimed a little younger, it's a little lighter and funnier, but it still catches the seriousness of it sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's not, it's not just all fun and games. It's not even as light and funny as the Adam West version. But it's a different tone. It's not the Christopher Nolan. It's not the Tim Burton even.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, for a brief minute there, I actually kind of enjoyed Batman Beyond.
Yes.
I thought it was a nice take. They kind of ran it into the ground. But I'm with Tyler here. Like, if they're doing something fresh, I can appreciate it.
But that's the problem. And I think that's what we have to almost, like, recognize, is that I feel like we're almost maybe at the tail end of this. Because, let's be honest, we've probably hit, like, a dark point probably in our, like, our movie making, like in our, I guess, cinematic life. Like, I would say the last, like, 10 years, maybe, I mean, I hate to be like 9/11, but I mean, to be fair, that really amped up a lot of like tension, and I feel like that's the sort of like thing that kind of makes us darker, or makes things like kind of really like question the sorts of sensibilities, whereas maybe like, I don't know, like the 90s were very like, wouldn't be as dark, even though obviously there was conflicts going on. There wasn't necessarily an overarching like
War
thing
on
that
terror. Yeah.
Yes. So like it kind of pushed us in that direction, and I feel like maybe hopefully maybe within the next 5 years, maybe we'll kind of start to see like the shift. It's kind of already happening with like Guardians of the Galaxy was great, Ant-Man was great in terms of like they're fun, they aren't too dark, they're not too heavy. Those are some good examples. And also it probably just makes money. I mean, as long as these things are making money, you can't argue with the formula, and that's kind of like. Sort of, this is where Taylor's spectrum, where it's about marketing. It's like, if we can keep making money, there's no reason not to keep making money doing the thing that we're doing. We see it in video games, we see it in movies, we probably see it in comic books and everything. So it's just like, you can't fight it. I mean, it makes sense when Batman vs. Superman makes $23 million. It's, these characters, everything about it, but Zootopia makes like 14. You're like, well, why should we even make this movie? No one wants to see this movie, clearly, because it made half the money Batman vs. Superman made. Even though Batman vs. Superman has like a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes and Zootopia has like a 98%. It's probably one of the greatest movies of the decade. Don't quote me on that.
Well, it's going to be interesting going forward to see, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy was a breath of fresh air even for Marvel. And then Ant-Man and now Deadpool, which I'm not a fan of Deadpool, but it's funny, right? That was the thing. It's not just serious, and it's not end of the world. Ant-Man and Deadpool are very personal, very small stories, really.
I felt like even Mission Impossible this year was a little bit...
Well, yeah.
It wasn't as serious as the former ones before.
Yeah, and it's the one that felt most like the show.
Right. Because
it got the tone and it got the style. But you have Christopher McQuarrie, who is a huge fan of the actual show.
Well, and kind of diving into something I know is a personal favorite of yours, I'm very interested to see where the next run of Bond movies goes.
Yeah.
Because I know Daniel Craig has gone on record as saying that he thinks his Bond has been too depressing, and I think he at one point said he would rather kill himself than do another Bond movie.
Oh, Jesus.
He'd rather shatter his hand, I think it was.
Yeah. So, I don't want to go full Pierce Brosnan, but it would be nice to get something a little bit lighter in that franchise, too.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I love spy movies and spy books, and, I've got the full run of Bond on, like 4 feet away from me, and the full run of Man from U.N.C.L.E. tie-in novels from the 60s right on the shelf under them. I like spies. And last year, I mean... God, Mission Impossible was maybe my favorite spy film of the year. Then Spy with Melissa McCarthy. That was actually a good spy movie.
Spy was super solid.
Yeah. And then Man from U.N.C.L.E., which now, again, I'm an old school Man from U.N.C.L.E. fan. So there were a couple of little things that, I was sort of like, oh, why did you have to do that? But it was fun, and it caught the flavor of the period. It actually grounded it a little more than the TV show ever was. And it was just, it was willing to have fun. It was willing to have a sense of humor about itself while still being deadly serious. And the opening sequence, I love the opening car chase sequence and escape. And, it's beautifully done. And then, way down the list, you had Spectre, which was a film that I watched.
What did you think about Kingsman?
It had
when I watched that, I felt like it verged on this like Bond-esque.
Yes,
but it almost pushed like Austin Powers.
Yes,
but not so much. And I saw they were coming out with a second one here pretty soon, and they're going to start filming. So
yeah, I basically I wanted Colin Firth to kill the stupid, annoying lead and just be the hero himself. I loved Colin Firth. I loved the look and the style of it. I hated the story. I hated the lead. I hated the ending. Oh my God. But it got some things right. You know, it's like, it's so close, you know. And I still liked it better than Spectre.
I think it was a fun, self-referential genre piece.
Yes. I liked
that
Mark
genre
Hamill
needed.
reference, too. That was a nice touch.
I don't know. I liked Spectre, but I'm a sucker for Blofeld. Like, he's my favorite villain.
Oh, but I wanted him to be so much better.
I know.
It's like stuff just happened in a sequential order. There wasn't really any logic to it. It's just, oh, we'll go here and something will happen, and then we go here and something will happen. And I mean, Skyfall falls apart like 10 minutes after you leave the theater too. But it had a little bit of weight to it. Whereas this, I was forgetting bits of it while I was watching it, which, I mean,
doesn't bode well.
Yeah. I mean, Casino Royale, my wife and I went to see Casino Royale in the theater. And we came out of it and she said, you know, that's a good 2-hour movie. I said, that's like 2 hours and 25 minutes. She said, I know. It's a good 2-hour movie. So, yeah, you're right. You're right.
And Quantum of Solace was a good hour-long TV special.
Oh.
Good. I like that better in retrospect. But
going back to this idea of do our heroes need to be grounded, I think one of my favorite pieces of spy media right now is Archer.
Yeah.
And that's largely because nothing in that show really has to have consequences unless they decide it does.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about it, and this is a very similar thing that I think of when I do the radio theater show, is it's funny, but it's also telling a decent story. It's not just random stuff happening, right? Most of the time they manage to tell a coherent story in Archer. And, you know, a lot of spy things and a lot of spoof things miss that. They're just like, let's just be funny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you can do the same thing in a superhero film too. You can just hit all the origin story beats or hit all the villain beats and not tell a compelling story.
Yeah.
We saw that in the third Dark Knight film, which I can't remember the title of because they're all the same.
The Dark Knight Rises, which I still haven't seen. Batman is my favorite superhero, and I still haven't seen that.
It sure has a plot.
Is that what that is?
Alright everybody, that concludes part 1 of episode 53 of Dude's Brunch. We're going to be back on Wednesday with the second half of this episode and more of our discussion with David J. Loehr, so be sure to refresh your podcast apps on Wednesday.
David Duchovny makes a pretty woman.
Yes, he does.
Wait,
I was
that's
not
my
expecting
fault.
it to be that convincing, but you know what?
He is a handsome woman.
That's okay.